You are listening to Smart Women's Dating Podcast, episode number 9. Welcome to Smart Women's Dating Podcast. I am your host, certified life coach Lærke Nielsen, and I help smart, independent women attract the love they deeply desire without having to chase or settle. This podcast will give you the mindset tools and insights you need to finally crack the code to your love life. Are you ready? Then let's go! Hey there! Welcome back to the podcast, and if this is your first episode, then extra welcome to the podcast. Are you willing to do a fun little experiment? I want you to think about what comes up for you when you think about men. Just men in general. All men. Do you even like them? Or do you believe that most men cannot be trusted and it's only a very small minority that have good intentions and want the same as you? Do you think that men your age are only looking for younger women, or that they prefer casual flings over committed relationships? And what about the quantity? Do you think there's enough single men out there? And is there enough good single men out there? What are the feelings that come up for you when you think of men? Is it frustration, resentment, anger, annoyance, disappointment, or discouragement? Or do you also feel love, respect, affection, excitement, appreciation, and gratitude? Today we'll be talking about your man mindset, what it is and why it matters, and what you can do to rewire it to your advantage so you can train your brain to notice the good men that are everywhere. But before we dive into that, I have a quick and very special announcement for you. I'm sure that you are aware that next Tuesday is the 14th of February. In other words, it's Valentine's Day. And even though we all know that this is just one big commercial stunt for flower shops and chocolate industry, and you as a smart single woman are above all the kind of marketing that could make you feel bad about being single, I have decided that this is a perfect opportunity to have a single ladies' Valentine's party. Yay! An open workshop where I give you some of my best feminine energy shifts and answer all your questions about dating, and I'll even coach those of you who want to try that. This event is open for women only, but it's all ages and basically all relationship status, but the content will be made specifically for single ladies. So I hope you join this party, and all you need to do is sign up on the link in the show notes, and you will receive a link to the call and a replay afterwards. But you will want to be on the call if you can, because I have a special treat for women on the call that will not be shared in the replay. So check the link in the show notes or go to my website lærkethelovecoach.com or find me on Instagram lærkethelovecoach and find the link to Single Ladies Valentine's Party. And Lærke is spelled Laerke. Your man mindset is the beliefs and opinions that you have about men. It's sort of your overall general thoughts about men, what you believe about their nature. If you believe that they are mainly selfish, immoral, and controlling, of course some of them are, or if you believe that a significant part of them are looking for a serious committed relationship. And it's if you mainly have positive or negative feelings about them. It's what you believe about the possibility of meeting someone that you can create the kind of relationship that you want with. Of course, men in general, that's a huge group of people, and they can be everything from very cool and attractive to arrogant and awful, just like women. So I'm not asking you to gaslight yourself and think of all men as fantastic, but get curious and investigate your thoughts to see what stands out to you the most. Are you balanced, or do you have sort of a 70-30% negative mindset? The mindset we have about everything is like the color of our glasses. It determines how we perceive the world. So if, for instance, we believe that most men cannot be trusted, then we will notice and remember every time we find evidence that men cannot be trusted. We will store the information when someone tells us about a man who was dishonest or betrayed his wife. And when we hear only parts of a story, we will be prone to interpret this story as likely showing that the man could not be trusted. Our perception is skewed towards our belief, and we hold on to the evidence that it's true and we let go of signs that it's not true. Now, this is not something we do on purpose, of course, and we're not even conscious about it. It's because our brain is wired to gather evidence for beliefs and stories that already exist in the brain, simply because it's most cost efficient. It's expensive in terms of energy and effort to change our mind, to challenge an existing belief and start finding evidence for a new. And it doesn't really matter if the belief serves us or not. When there's already an existing neural pathway, this becomes the default way of thinking. So even if we might realize that a belief doesn't feel good, unless we do a conscious effort to change that, our brain keeps falling back into the old habits of believing that it's true. So this might sound very depressing if you have a negative belief that's not serving you, but the cool thing here is that you can outsmart your brain. You can hack that system yourself and reprogram your brain to start finding evidence for a new belief that serves you better, such as the belief that there are plenty of interesting single men out there. But let's just take a look at why your man mindset is important. Because what often happens if you had a few years of on-off dating with not much success is that you develop this scarcity mindset around men. This means that your brain is telling you that there isn't enough good men out there, and the few ones that are not yet taken, well, they're probably looking for younger women, or there is definitely something wrong with them. If this is your mindset, you will find it very difficult to see anything else. And everything you experience about men will be colored through those glasses and fit into a perception of scarcity. And then if you meet a man who is actually interesting and attractive and he wants to spend time with you, there's a risk that your brain might not believe that it's true, and it's going to start looking for what is wrong and what is the catch here. Or you could be putting him on a pedestal, thinking that he is the only good man left and you can't believe he is here with you, and so you will compromise yourself and not feel equal to him. And in both cases, this doesn't feel good and it can lead to behavior that's not serving you. And in worst case, it can sabotage the connection before it even becomes a relationship. Now, I know I'm exaggerating a little bit here, but I wanted to get the point. And on the other hand, if you have a positive and abundant mindset, you believe that there are plenty of men out there who are interesting and have the best of intentions, and it's only a small minority who cannot be trusted. And you notice good men everywhere, and you find it very encouraging that there are so many attractive men who are single, and you feel optimistic about finding a partner, and you're not in a hurry because you know there are plenty of choices. And then when you meet someone new and he treats you really well, you wouldn't find it strange or look for reasons that something is wrong. You would just enjoy it and let things develop naturally. And at the same time, you also wouldn't be super attached to things working out with this particular person, as if he was the last single man on earth. You would feel certain that if it didn't work out, then you will meet someone else. So having an abundant, positive mindset helps you in different ways. It helps you, first of all, becoming better at seeing the good men. And secondly, feel better when you are dating because you are less attached to the outcome and you're more optimistic about it. And thirdly, you also are more open to receive love and you're not looking for what's wrong when you meet someone who's the kind of man you're looking for and who's interested in you. So you not only become better at noticing the good men, but also enjoying the dating process a lot more when you have a positive, abundant man mindset. So it should be clear that this is actually really important, but I also just want to say one thing. On the other hand, don't get so caught up in your mindset that it blocks you from taking action, because you don't need to get to a perfect mindset before you start dating. You don't need to be 100% in a positive and abundant mindset. And in the end, this can, in some cases, just become an excuse for not doing anything. You just have to be working on it and you have to be open to seeing the good men, even if you're not convinced that they are everywhere. So before I tell you how you can hack your mindset and reprogram your brain to find all the cool and interesting men that you're missing out on right now, I just want to say a few words about what not to do and that will pollute your mindset. Don't hang out in those Facebook groups where women vent about men and how hopeless they are and how difficult dating is. And don't follow people who repeatedly post sarcastic or condescending story about men in the dating apps. And I say this because I see it all the time. A woman will post a horrible dating profile and maybe even share a screenshot of a conversation she had with a man. And then everyone chips in and joins the criticism. This is the kind of post that only has the purpose of making people agree on a not very helpful narrative that single men, and especially men in the dating apps, are horrible and it's impossible to meet someone serious and honest these days. This is not constructive, but unfortunately it's very contagious. Our brain loves to join a choir of complainers, and it can give you this feeling of community. But it's like overeating a whole bag of chips. The first 2 or 3 handfuls taste good, and then you start feeling nauseous and empty. Complaints posted like this is just other people's thoughts and perceptions, and it's never the whole truth. And when you listen too much to all of this, your brain will start thinking it's reality because you don't see the positive stories and you don't see the nuances either. So try to avoid falling into the traps of hanging out with other single women who have negative scarcity mindset around men. It is so much more encouraging to spend your time with someone who feels empowered and optimistic about finding love. And if you don't know anyone who's like that, then avoid even talking to others about your dating journey, or hire a coach. Now, I told you that you can hack your mindset, and if you now realize that you have a scarcity mindset around men, this is something you want to work on. So, our brain is being bombarded with information all of the time, every single second of the day. And in order for this to not be completely overwhelming, it needs to filter the information. Imagine that you have an assistant who does that for you, and this assistant is checking every piece of information and deciding whether to keep it or not and where to store it. And this assistant works from the instructions that you have given her, based on your beliefs or based on what you choose to focus on. This assistant is what we call the reticular activating system. And it's a system that has been compared to the algorithms in Facebook because of the way it works. What you click on, you will get more of. And in real life, that means what you focus on will become more visible to you. And I'm quite sure you already know this system, even if you might not have heard the name before. You know, this situation when you're looking to buy a new bike, for instance, and you do some research and you look at different brands, and then you decide on one specific brand. Then what happens is that all of a sudden, everywhere in the city, you see this brand of bike showing up. It's like everyone has the same bike as you, but they were already there before, you just didn't notice them. But because you directed your attention to it, you start to see them everywhere. You set your brain up to look for this kind of bike by putting your intense focus on it. You unknowingly gave the instructions to your reticular activating system. And you can also choose to decide on purpose the instructions you want to input to this system. This is how you hack it and reprogram your brain. You decide to deliberately focus on something specific and start looking for it everywhere. Reprogramming your brain is basically like throwing a stick to a dog. Your brain is actually surprisingly loyal and willing to get to work once you give it clear instructions. But if you don't, it's just going to go down all the small streets and paths and sniff to what's going on and forget about the direction that you want to take. And now you probably have guessed the next thing I'm going to say, right? You know that I'm going to tell you that if you just focus on seeing the good men, they will all of a sudden show up everywhere. And you still don't feel that this is realistic. You don't really believe that it's that easy. And I know it can sound a bit sci-fi, but this is all backed by science. So if you feel a lot of resistance coming up now and your brain is telling you that there are no interesting single men in the city where you live or in the apps that you are on, then try this out on something else than men. Something where you don't have a negative belief and your brain doesn't tell you it's impossible. For instance, you could challenge yourself to notice the word love somewhere at least once every day. In a magazine headline or on a newspaper stand, in a piece of street art or graffiti, or when you open the internet. in an advertisement or in a newsletter, in a text that you receive, on social media, wherever. Look for the little 4-letter word love every day, and I'll bet you'll find it. And then once you prove to yourself that you can take charge of your reticular activating system and reprogram your brain, then you can start thinking about what an interesting man is to you and how you'll recognize him. How will you know when he is in front of you? And then get your brain to work for you. So this was a short episode of today, and if you're still struggling with your man mindset or feeling hopeless in dating after this exercise, I want to invite you to book a call with me. Let's get on Zoom so you can tell me your biggest challenges in dating and I can tell you how I can help you. Check the link in the show notes or go to my website, lærkethelovecoach.com, and this is Lærke, Laerke. Now, go find some love out there. Nothing feels better than love. Love for you, your life, the humans in your life, and your future partner. Love is all you need. And I'll be back in a week from now, and until then, have fun and enjoy dating. If you like what you're hearing on this podcast and you want to get support from a coach on your love journey, I invite you to book a free consult call with me. You will find the link in the show notes. And also, don't forget to subscribe, and I would love it if you would rate and review this podcast, and then you'll also help other women find it.